Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Very Cold Lasagna podcast, your place for all those filthy casual takes on the world of sports. I'm your host, DylanLasagna. This is episode number 195 of this icy yet spicy sports podcast. And in this episode, we're sticking around the coldest depths of the freezer with our Old Icebox for another retro review. Considering the theme is WrestleMania week, and it is WrestleMania weekend, we're moving on from the year of 1985 and going 24 years into the future to talk about another WrestleMania that happened in the year of 2009. And that WrestleMania happens to be WrestleMania 25, or as we like to call it, the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania. So here we are with another retro review of another WrestleMania. We've done the very first WrestleMania earlier in the last episode, and now here we are revisiting another milestone WrestleMania that happened 15 years prior, at least from 2024 to 2009, and that was the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania. For some of you that are wondering, Dylan, isn't there a WrestleMania that's happening this weekend? How come you're not getting prepared for that? How come you're not like talking about that one? Well, for some of you that are wondering about that, well, I've alluded to this. I probably talked about it in, I think it was my Elimination Chamber review or my Royal Rumble review. I'm just not very interested in it. I'm just not very interested in this WrestleMania 40. I'm sorry to say it. I know it might piss some of you people off that happen to come across this podcast. I'm just not very intrigued by it. The build has sucked very bad. Like, a lot of these matches don't belong on the card, and I have to criticize Triple H. This card looks like a glorified All In. This build, all of this, like, it's basically what we were watching and what we were building towards last summer with AEW All In London. Like, what are we doing here? Like, most of these matches belong on Raw or SmackDown. This doesn't feel like WrestleMania, ladies and gentlemen. Like, a lot of these matches do not belong, especially Mommy versus the Man. So sorry. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Outside of course, the two main event matches, which is all around the bloodline, these matches don't necessarily feel like WrestleMania, especially with the stories around it. And I get it. Some of them don't have a lot of time to build up, but even then, even with the time allotted, they don't really connect. They don't really connect with me personally, but maybe they do with you, and that's okay. But it just doesn't really scream excitement to me. It really doesn't. And some of you may say, "Oh, because your favorite's not on," which that could be true. I'm not saying it. That's not false. But then again, it's just like, there could have been better options out there. There could have been better options for this card to make it at least somewhat interesting, you know. But that's besides the point. I'm not really intrigued in the slightest for this WrestleMania, because when you look at last year's WrestleMania and this WrestleMania, it's night and day. It's literally night and day now. It's literally night and day. How do we go from last year's WrestleMania to, well, what we have now? And yes, I know it hasn't happened in this when it comes to this episode, but it's like, damn, like it's just a complete 180, and not in a good way. Not in a good way, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, the only thing to look forward to is the tag team bloodline match, and then Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, depending on the stipulation, what happens there. So, I mean, if you're excited, that's cool and all, but for me, it's just not for this WrestleMania is not in the cards. Just like with WrestleMania 37. There's a reason why I didn't review that show. And, well, I'll probably talk about that bloodline match, maybe. But, yeah, sorry to say it, but I'm not reviewing this show. I'm not reviewing WrestleMania 40. It's too ass. It's too ass. For the last 2 months have been too ass for me. So anyway, I've rambled enough about like my thoughts on WrestleMania 40, why I'm not reviewing the show in a nutshell. So instead, we're going to spend the next 2 episodes going back in time, revisiting 2 WrestleManias that were kind of noteworthy to talk about. The next episode, you'll figure out which one it's going to be. But for this one, we're going to be talking about the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania. And then the next episode, oh boy, you'll be in for a treat for that one because it'll be something. So each night of WrestleMania, we'll have some kind of retro review WrestleMania, blast to the past here on Very Cold Lasagna. So as we're on the theme of housekeeping here, before we get started with all the rambling I'm doing, make sure you follow the show on social media, on the X and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. And for all my audio listeners out there, make sure you rate and review the show 1 to 5 stars, leave some feedback. And for you watching on YouTube, make sure you smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, leave a comment down below with your takes on each topic that I'm talking about here on the podcast, each and every episode. With this episode in particular, it's my retro review of WrestleMania 25. So leave me your memories, leave me your thoughts on whether or not you watch this WrestleMania. I like to start a conversation with you in the comments on YouTube, as well as on social media as well. But anyway, share this with your friends, share this with a stranger, share this with whoever you want to share this with, the good, the bad, the ugly, when it comes to Very Cold Lasagna. So that being said, let's go back to the past, back to the old icebox from 15 years prior to talk about the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania. So here we are, April 5th, 2009. That is the date when this WrestleMania took place. This was announced a year in advance at the previous WrestleMania in Orlando, WrestleMania 24. This particular WrestleMania was celebrating its silver anniversary of this Super Bowl-like event. As such, it was billed as the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania, or it also gets billed as WrestleMania 25th anniversary. But nonetheless, the event took place, like I said, on April 5th, 2009, so it already passed its date, but nonetheless, regardless, it took place in Reliant Stadium, home of the Houston Texans, which is now known as NRG Stadium today. That's where the event took place on that date. And according to one of WWE's executive vice presidents at the time, Michelle Wilson, this WrestleMania featured like the most wide-ranging, the most extensive campaign in the event's history, like the marketing campaign per se. It ranged from various merchandise deals, cable discounts, cross promotion with ESPN and MTV, and even a new video game to coincide with the event. It was a video game by the name of WWE Legends of WrestleMania. I'm not sure if some of you remember that. I think I do remember that. Myself personally, I remember that game from back in the day when I didn't have a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox 360. So I had no access to that game at all. But when I watched those gameplay videos on YouTube, it didn't really look all that interesting, to be honest here. So anyway, you have a nice video package showing all these various wrestlers being asked what their favorite WrestleMania moment was in the last 25 years and how tonight they were going to make their own WrestleMania moment. And, you know, for as ass as I think this WrestleMania 40 is going to be, considering it is another anniversary WrestleMania, I hope there is some kind of similar opening video package for this WrestleMania, you know, because it is the 40th anniversary of WrestleMania after all. And, you know, there should be some kind of feeling of, oh, what's my favorite WrestleMania moment when it comes to these wrestlers. So maybe they should get some kind of video package like that going. So now let's get to the actual match card itself. We had a pre-show match that was exclusive to DVD. So no one got to see this. No one on the pay-per-view feed got to see this. And this pre-show match involved the WWE Tag Team Champions, Carlito and Primo, taking on the World Tag Team Champions, The Miz and John Morrison, in a Lumberjack title unification match. It was a decent showcase, but how we even got here in the first place. Well, initially started out as, well, who's going to date the Bella Twins? Who's going to take them out on a date? Was it going to be John Morrison and The Miz? Or was it going to be Carlito and Primo? Well, that's how it initially started. But then it started to become a little bit more competitive. Who was the best tag team champion? So it was announced a couple weeks prior on ECW. Yes, ECW was WWE's third program, which by that point, nobody gave a shit. But anyway, it was announced a couple weeks prior on ECW that the two teams would face each other at WrestleMania in a title unification match, which would later become a lumberjack match, and the winner would become the unified WWE Tag Team Champions. So like I said, this was a WWE DVD exclusive, so, you know, yeah, DVDs existed back in the day, in 2009. And as such, you got a exclusive pre-show match, which had exclusive commentators in the form of ECW commentary team Todd Grisham and Matt Striker. No God. I forgot how unbearable Todd Grisham was on commentary. If you thought the likes of Adnan Berg or what was it, and Kevin Patrick were bad today, before, you know, they got replaced. Oh man, you should have listened to Todd Grisham, man. He was so bad. He was so bad on commentary. But Matt Striker, though, I mean, he was at least a decent not play-by-play color commentator, though. He was decent. He brought a little bit of energy to the table. But like I said, this is a decent showcase between both of these teams. He had a nice finish to the match that saw Primo counter John Morrison's finisher. Midway, as he was up in the air, instead of backstabber, 1, 2, 3. They won the unified tag team championships. They merged together. And basically the match, I don't remember which lineage continued. I think it was the WWE Tag Team Championships lineage that continued. But either way, it's interesting with this match, the cliche of all the lumberjacks brawling with each other. You know, because that really happened with most of these lumberjacks. Someone would get into someone's face and then they start fighting each other. But no, that didn't happen here. It was a clean lumberjack match. So that was kind of a nice change of pace here. So now we get into the main card, which opened up with the 5th annual Money in the Bank ladder match, a match that was first created back at WrestleMania 21 for a briefcase holding a world championship match that you can cash in anytime, anywhere. So before it became its own annual pay-per-view a year later, after the WrestleMania 26, man, I do miss Money in the Bank when it was at WrestleMania, when you didn't have this whole shebang on its own pay-per-view. But I guess it became too big for itself now, did it? But when you look at it realistically, you could ideally have a Money in the Bank ladder match on each night for both the men and the women. So think about it. Think about it if you're WWE. But no, like I said, it's become an event that's now too big for itself, I guess. So anyway, announced a little over a month prior to WrestleMania 25. You had qualifying matches that took place within the next 3 weeks. And your participants were CM Punk, Kane, Mark Henry, MVP, Shelton Benjamin, Kofi Kingston, Christian, and Finlay. Punk, Kane, Shelton Benjamin, and Christian had prior experience, and in CM Punk was last year's winner, so he was looking to repeat. So as expected, this was a spot fest crazy kind of match, but this was actually a fun match. This was actually a fun match that I really liked. And you know, when I watched it back in the day when I was like very little, when I had to go wait and watch it on YouTube, when someone would randomly upload it, you know, torrent it and then pull up the full match. Yeah, that's how I had to watch my wrestling highlights back in the day. But anyway, this was spot fest as expected, but I love the creative spots in this one. Benjamin swanton bombing 20 feet off the ladder onto everyone. And then there's another spot where you had Kofi Kingston jumping in between a ladder, and then he drop kicked Shelton Benjamin. And then you had Finlay assisting his little buddy, Hornswoggle, and then he dogpiled onto everyone, and everyone sold it. That was pretty cool. And then you had Kofi nearly winning the briefcase, where he used Mark Henry, who was holding a ladder, and then he climbed up, and he almost had the briefcase, but I guess they lost control of the ladder, and then Henry hit the world's strongest slam on Kingston onto the ladder, which was actually pretty brutal if you think about it. And then when you go into a little bit of craziness with this match, it also comes with some botches, because there's a really bad botch in this match where Benjamin tried to go for a sunset flip powerbomb, but then he didn't stick the landing on MVP. And it was a really concerning incident, because it nearly caused them to get injured. Like, if they didn't land the way they did, they really could have seriously gotten hurt. Like, it was really that bad. Fortunately, he made up for it later. He hit a powerbomb on MVP to the outside onto Henry and his manager, Tony Atlas. So it was all right. He made up for it. So you can't really complain there, but still pretty unsafe. So the end came with CM Punk overcoming a late surge from Kane and getting his leg trapped on a ladder. So he had to fight off Kane. He kicked him off a ladder, and then he grabbed the briefcase to repeat as Money in the Bank winner. And like I said, there were a lot of ladder spots in this match, but I liked how creative these spots were. But again, also concerning, because you watch this match and you see how unstable these ladders were. Like, there were a lot of instances where the wrestlers were losing their footing and the ladders were shaking. Now, even if the wrestlers were having proper footing, it's just the ladders were really shaking. And I'm not sure what it was. I'm not no expert here, but there was something seriously wrong with these ladders back in the day, compared to a Money Bank ladder match like back in July the last year, or back in 2022 with that Money in the Bank ladder match. But nonetheless, it's like the wrestlers were on the verge of falling off the ladder very easily in this match. So it is really concerning watching these. Yes, 15 years prior. It is a little worrisome. It was really worrisome. But nonetheless, CM Punk was your repeat Money in the Bank ladder match winner. And, well, at least the second time around, he went on to have a more successful run with the briefcase and after the briefcase. So our second matchup of the night featured the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royale. Some of the notable participants in this matchup included Rhea and Nikki Bella, Kelly, Mickie James, Eve Torres, Melina, Michelle McCool, Molly Holly, Tori Wilson, Beth Phoenix, and there's also one certain other person in this match. And speaking of which, this central story around this Battle Royale was around Santino Marella. Yes, a dude. Why is it around a dude? Well, Santino Marella, what was his nickname? The Italian Miracle. I think that was his nickname. But nonetheless, he wanted to enter the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royale, despite being a dude. Yeah, he was a man trying to enter the Battle Royale. So to prove his eligibility, he faced Mickie James with one arm behind his back on one episode of Raw, and he lost, obviously. And he got jumped by the rest of the women's roster at one point. That was going to be in the Battle Royale. But that was at the end of Santino's attempts to try and get into this Battle Royale, because he had one final trick up his sleeve to get into this dance. So when we get to the actual match itself, well, actually that was after a Kid Rock mini concert, which was why the hell did we have this? I guess there's a reason why WWE stopped doing these kind of mini concerts, like in these last couple of WrestleManias, because it's like, why? But I mean, then again, it's like, I'm still waiting for the Weeknd to, perform in these WrestleManias, considering he's had like 5 straight WrestleMania theme songs now. But anyway, after a Kid Rock mini concert, we had the Battle Royale start with the women's wrestlers, or as they like to call it back in the day, the the hated term that people like that hate now, divas, they were already in the ring. No proper introduction whatsoever. So as the concert was going on, I guess all the divas were filing in. Wow. It's kind of a dickish move. But anyway, the field was quickly winding down. And then you notice Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler, they point out something very odd that was obvious from the start. A diva that was never seen before, and no one was touching that diva. Why do I using air quotes? Well, let's get to that in a bit. Because once Michelle McCool and Mickie James eliminate each other, this diva pounced on Beth Phoenix, who was about to eliminate Melina with the glam slam over the top rope. So this diva eliminated them both to become Miss WrestleMania and win the Battle Royale. So once she revealed herself as Santina Marella's long lost sister, or whatever you call her, she celebrated by dancing all over the ring as Beth Phoenix, angry as all hell, looked on. Man. Like I don't have any memory watching this match at all. And to be honest with you, I'm actually glad I don't, because this is bad. This was actually very bad. And it's not to say, I don't like Santino Marella, because I actually do love him. Like, him and R-Truth are really damn good at making me laugh. But this is actually one of Santino's worst works. Actually, this is actually very terrible, because this is very cringe. This is like the drag stuff. It's very cringe looking back at it. So the less said about it, the better. So our third matchup of the night, we had Chris Jericho going up against the trio of legends, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and Rowdy Roddy Piper in a handicap elimination match. This matchup came about when actor Mickey Rourke. Why is Mickey Rourke involved in this somehow? Well, first of all, he was getting praised at the time in 2009 for his role in the movie The Wrestler. He wanted to wrestle at WrestleMania that year, but he had second thoughts. He had some second thoughts about it, and he would back out of it. Although he still would be in attendance, he said. So why is Mickey Rourke involved in all this? Well, Chris Jericho, he was the prime target of Rourke's initial challenge. And then once he backed out, Jericho called him a coward, called him out on his hypocrisy. So he began to target all the past legends in the WWE. And a story centered around one of the themes of his movie, which was the respect of past wrestlers after their careers began declining. So, yeah, pretty much has-beens, as Jericho liked to call it, with his, self-righteous, the best in the world at what he does character in that time period. So that brought the attention of Ric Flair. They got into a heated confrontation at one point. And over the coming weeks leading up to WrestleMania, a number of legends did the same. They confronted Jericho. Jericho brutally attacked them, including Jimmy Superfly Snuka on the set of Piper's Pit. Eventually, Jericho would challenge Flair and these legends to a match at WrestleMania. Actually, it was Flair that counter-offered with a 3-on-1 handicap match between Piper, Steamboat, and Snuka against Jericho. And then Jericho accepted it via a bloody attack on Ric Flair. So here we are with this match. It's a 3-on-1 against Jericho, and it may sound sad to say, and some of you may hate me for saying this, but as we speak about this match 15 years later, I think Jericho was right for story purposes, at least for story purposes, because I hate to say this, but in 2009, Roddy Piper and Jimmy Snuka did not look good in the ring. I'm sorry to say it. I know. I mean, I respect what they did during the heyday of the golden era in the 90s, as well as they were on their way out. But it's like, I mean, they did not look good here. And again, it's their age. It's their age and all that. But they looked plodding and slow. Even at very early in the match, like less than a minute in, Piper had his hands trapped in the ring. Like in the match, like barely started. So it is just, oh man, this is not good. So Jimmy Snuka was eliminated first. He tapped out to the walls of Jericho. And what was really questionable was like his partners were standing there. They could have broken it up. And I get it, it's elimination rules, but it's like, you could have prolonged the match a little bit by saving your partner, but no, you just let him hang to dry. And then Roddy Piper was eliminated next, quickly after, with an enziguri. So that left Ricky Steamboat to try and save this match for the Legends. And man, Ricky Steamboat definitely saved it. Because, well, at least, this match in particular, the like quality at least. Because, fun fact, this is Ricky Steamboat's first match in 15 years. And at that time, he was 56 years old. And, man, he was the only one that looked pretty good in ring shape still. At 56 years old, first match in 15 years, he was moving. He was grooving against the younger Jericho. And I was, like, so impressed. I was, like, really impressed. Like, holy shit. This was him in 2009. I mean, yeah, again, it's not prime Ricky Steamboat that went up against Macho Man Randy Savage at WrestleMania 3. But damn, I was like, shit. Like, he actually did pretty good for himself several years later, 24 years later. Shit. So he nearly won the match after reversing the walls of Jericho into a fruit roll-up. But unfortunately, he fell victim to the code breaker as Jericho erased the Legends in this handicap match. So Jericho rubbed it in the face of Ric Flair. He got upset, and he went into the ring to tussle with Jericho, only to also receive a code breaker for his troubles. And then he got pushed out of the ring. And Jericho wanted to finish things off. He wanted to finish things off with Mickey Rourke, and he demanded a fight. He demanded to fight him in the ring. And, well, let's just say, ask and you shall receive, Mr. Y2J. And Rourke got in the ring after a little bit of hesitation, a little bit of stalling, and then he shook him. He shook Jericho with some jabs. Jericho was caught off guard, and it's like, what the fuck? He actually hit me. And then they went to like try and fight each other, and then Mickey Rourke actually knocked him out with the left hook. I thought they were gonna actually tussle, wrestle, but no. Mickey Rourke actually knocked his ass out, and then Ric Flair and Mickey Rourke celebrated like woohoo. And then I think Jericho had a black eye too after WrestleMania, but all right, this was a decent match. And the post-match shenanigans were all right. But it was basically about Jericho getting his comeuppance. I mean, after the match at least, but also, like I said, Jericho was basically right at the end of the day when it was all said and done. So I guess match, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. I guess no harm, not really too much foul. Our next matchup was actually pretty more interesting, which was a brotherly battle, Matt versus Jeff Hardy in an Extreme Rules match. The two brothers had pretty much gone through everything in their careers, whether it was tag team success in the Attitude Era or their singles careers more recently. But nonetheless, the Hardy Boys did so much together, and by that point, they were world champions in their company. Jeff Hardy ended 2008 with his first WWE championship at the Armageddon pay-per-view, and then Matt Hardy was currently ECW champion. So they were on top of the industry. And then when you go to the 2009 Royal Rumble, things start to fall apart for them, especially for Jeff Hardy, man. A year prior, his house burned down, and then when you get to the new year, he was involved in a hit and run, and then he gets into this pyro accident, and it's just like, damn. And then meanwhile, for Matt Hardy, he loses the ECW title to newcomer Jack Swagger 2 weeks before the Royal Rumble, and then he loses the rematch. So it's like, man. The Hardy Boys are going through some hard times. And then when you get to that same Royal Rumble event, Jeff Hardy has to defend his title against Edge, and he's on the verge of winning that match. And Matt goes to assist him, but then instead he turns on him. He hits him with a steel chair, unprotected chair shot, by the way. And then Edge wins the WWE Championship off of that. So over the coming weeks, Jeff doesn't want to fight his own brother, despite Matt Hardy goading him into trying to fight him and basically implying like all those accidents that happened to Jeff, all those tragedies that happened to him was because of him. And then eventually it came to a boiling point. Like weeks prior to WrestleMania, he was basically telling him that, oh, it was all because of me, because I want to step out of your shadow. I don't want you to become a WWE champion. And he finally got his wish, like a month before WrestleMania. Like he said, he was responsible for pretty much everything. He was pretty much outright telling him, and then Jeff whipped his ass. He whipped his ass all over the ring, and he wanted him at WrestleMania, and he shall receive. General Manager Vicky Guerrero said that they're gonna fight at WrestleMania, and then later it was gonna be ruled as an Extreme Rules match. So when you look at this match between the two Hardys, this is what Jimmy versus Jey Uso should have been, or at least should feel like going into WrestleMania. And I'm not saying, oh, they should have like these accidents and all that, all this real life stuff going on, like in terms of like, the DUIs and all that. No, I mean, like, make it feel intense, make it feel personal. Like, the problem with Jimmy versus Jey Uso, like going into this WrestleMania, it's like they started and Triple H has started and stopped this feud to the point it's like I don't care about it as much as I did back in the summer when Jimmy first turned on Jey, and even that was illogical. So it's just like I don't really care as much with that brother and brother fight anymore. And once it's done, it's just like, okay, what are they gonna do now? So in contrast, with Matt versus Jeff, it was very personal going in, and it's personal throughout this match because they've been through multiple extreme stipulations, and they used this Extreme Rules stipulation to the fullest. Just with the opening ladder match, obviously there was a lot of stuff that happened here, so I'm just gonna do my personal highlights here. Matt countered Whisper in the Wind, Jeff Hardy's signature move. He used a chair to whack him like midair, so I thought that was pretty cool. And then this is kind of a little bit unique, but I never seen a vacuum, like one of those those handle vacuums, like being used in a wrestling match. So Matt brought that out, and then he just threw it at Jeff. So I thought that was kind of funny. And then you had Jeff Hardy hitting Matt in the head with the chair. So kind of a throwback to the Royal Rumble where he got costed the WWE title by Matt. So he hit Matt in the head with a steel chair, unprotected, mind you. So another case of WWE eventually banning chair shots to the head later on in the PG era. So yeah, more ammunition for them. And then you have the one of the big highlight spots of this match was Jeff belly flopping onto a double stacked table, and then you have Matt Hardy underneath the top table. He was on the bottom table, and he also had a chair on his stomach. So Jeff was like, dive bomb, and then he went through both tables with his brother. So you get to the finish of the match. You see Jeff trying to go for a big leg drop from the short ladder over the top ladder. But then as he went over the top ladder, Matt dodged the leg drop at the very last second. So Jeff misses, and then Matt takes advantage of it with the twist of fate with Jeff's head wrapped around the chair. 1, 2, 3. Matt Hardy wins this Extreme Rules match. This is a fun match. Like, I really like this. I really liked the spots in this one. Obviously, like I said, they've had history doing these Extreme Rules these extreme stipulation matches before. Now, I'm not sure if there were some people questioning the decision of having Matt win, but I do think here it was the right choice, considering that they need to establish his heel turn. And it wasn't too bad of a loss that Jeff took. I mean, he's he was at that point where he took like wins, losses, that he was kind of protected at that point. I could be wrong. You know, you can debate me on that. But he did get his win back in a more emphatic way, a more effective way a week later at Backlash. And I get it. Some people may call it a consolation prize, but I felt like it was a more effective way, you know, and it embarrassed Matt even more when he was tied onto the table and he was forced to say, I quit. And then Jeff did the leg drop through that table anyway. So I thought that was a little bit more of an effective win for Jeff as he began his own push in the summer. But as Jim Ross correctly pointed out, as to how Jeff lost this match, well, he just took one risk too many on that April night in Houston. So Matt Hardy wins this match. And, well, like I said, they would go on to have another match at Backlash that Jeff would win. Then we have the Intercontinental Championship match between John Bradshaw Layfield taking on Rey Mysterio. JBL actually was not the Intercontinental Championship champion until just a couple weeks prior to WrestleMania, beating CM Punk on Raw to win the IC title. And then he was confronted by his old rival, Rey Mysterio. He would be challenged to a match at WrestleMania just like a couple of weeks before the event. And then Rey Mysterio actually beat him 6 days prior to the event. So it was kind of a little bit of a signal of, oh, JBL is probably going to retain. He's probably going to retain his title as, you know, standard wrestling practices apply. Though, if the challenger beats you prior to the event in a non-title match, oh, they're going to win. They're going to win. If they get the upper hand, oh, they're going to win. Or if it's vice versa, if the champion gets the upper hand on you, oh, the challenger is going to get the win. Wrestling 101. So, on the way to the ring, JBL would cut a promo dissing Texas and promised he would return to his wife in New York, a hero. So, JBL being an asshole heel in Texas. Meanwhile, you had Rey Mysterio make his way out as Heath Ledger's Joker, which was big at the time, which was very mainstream. You know, The Dark Knight, very major movie during that time period. This was actually Rey Mysterio's first WrestleMania since WrestleMania 22 when he won the World Heavyweight Championship. He missed the last two with injury. So this was a kind of a big WrestleMania for Rey Mysterio, considering, yeah, he missed the last two. So JBL would beat up Rey Mysterio before the match started. And he promised before the match that this would be his most dominating victory in WrestleMania history. But once the bell rang, you leave to go get a drink, you leave to go get a soda, or you leave to go to the bathroom, and you probably missed this match. Because that most promising victory, most dominant victory at WrestleMania promise that JBL made, well, it was gone in a flash. Rey Mysterio hit a 619 on JBL, one splash later, and then Rey's your Intercontinental Champion in just 21 seconds. So, yeah, this is one of the shortest matches in WrestleMania history. Not the shortest because, well, that record is still held by Kane for shortest WrestleMania match in history. And, yeah, I mean, I really don't have much else to say because, well, it's just that short. I don't know why it was that short, but it was short. Nothing much else to say. So JBL was stunned as all hell. He was like, what the fuck just happened here? And a stunned JBL turned into an angry one. He announced that he quit. Houston was all happy as hell. JBL left the ring all angry. And actually that was the last we saw of JBL as an active competitor. And that was pretty much it for JBL's wrestling career. So obviously we do see him as a commentator a couple years later, but in terms of wrestling, that was it for the wrestling god in WWE. Now we get into the big boy matches, starting with this match that everyone loves so much, including myself. The Undertaker taking on Shawn Michaels. These two actually feuded with each other beforehand in 1997 when they faced each other in the first ever Hell in a Cell match. They also fought each other in a casket match months later, where Shawn Michaels suffered that initial career-ending back injury that forced him into retirement for 4 years. And then they picked their feud back up after Michaels beat both JBL and Vladimir Kozlov after the 2009 No Way Out to earn a match with The Undertaker at WrestleMania. So this build-up between the Dead Man and the Heartbreak Kid, this was not just a battle of the very best. This wasn't just your typical, I'm the best wrestler. I want to be the best, the very best, like no one ever was. Dun, 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 dun. No, this was actually a match between the two best wrestlers in the WWE with two great characters and two legitimate, valid reasons as to why win this match. The Undertaker, he had a legendary undefeated streak of 16-0, recently beating Edge for the World Heavyweight Championship at last year's WrestleMania, and looking to add another legendary name in Shawn Michaels to his list. Meanwhile, Shawn Michaels, he has actually been the Undertaker on those two occasions that I talked about. Undertaker has never been Shawn Michaels. So something had to give in this WrestleMania match. And Michaels would mostly have the upper hand in this build-up, playing various mind games on Taker in the build-up, always hitting sweet chin music every chance he got on him. Especially, he was mimicking his whole getup with the contrasting white hat, the white coat, and the lights. Like, Undertaker coming out to the darkness, where Michaels was coming in with the light, with the holy music. So there's essentially a battle between darkness and light. So you could tell that a battle between these two big names was going to live up to the hype. And oh my God, I've seen this match so many times, and you could say it certainly does. It certainly does 15 years later. And whether you watched it once, you watched it twice, you watched it 3 times or more, and you probably see on your YouTube feed, WWE always having to delete it and then re-upload it or put it on their long-ass live streams or whatnot. But regardless of all what I just said, this is an example. This match is an example of what a wrestling match should be. It often comes to a reference of, on a match where it is on people's greatest of all time list. What match is the greatest of all time? Well, for a lot of people, it's this one right here. It's The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25. It's a match with very strong storytelling going in, with even a month-long build. Let's give it that. But they had prior history before that. But it was solidified, it was validated with a really great matchup right here to back it up. And with two legendary names to go at it. Who could forget the two contrasting entrances of light and dark? HBK, having that light, that white trench coat like Taker entrance, and then seamlessly transitioning into his own traditional entrance. I'm just a sexy boy. And then obviously Undertaker having his traditional entrance of going into the match. And then there was no advantage from either wrestler. They were at an even stalemate for most of this match. Shawn Michaels using his speed to outsmart and wear down the Undertaker. Taker using his power and striking ability to beat down HBK. And then you saw at the midway point of this match, they went outside. Taker dodged a moonsault from HBK. And then you saw the big dive, the big top rope suicida dive from the Undertaker. That could have ended badly because he was wide off the mark from where he's supposed to go. But he was well short of it. And he almost landed hard on his head. And honestly, he almost broke his neck when you think about it. So very scary dive for the Undertaker. But in essence, HBK, pulling the cameraman in to not only avoid that dive, but also save Undertaker's life in a way. Clutch move. So you get to after that part, Michaels is willing to do anything to beat the Undertaker. Even take a 10 count out victory. Undertaker gets back into the ring, and then you get real from there. They give each other their best shot. Sweet chin music, choke slam, the last ride, another sweet chin music, and nothing is working for either man. But then Undertaker hits the Tombstone Piledriver, and when you think of the Tombstone Piledriver at WrestleMania, you think it's over. You think that's the end of the match. 17-0, but no. Shawn Michaels kicks out. Somehow manages to kick out, and then you get meme face Undertaker that looks shocked as all hell. Shawn Michaels manages to fight back, hits his signature elbow. Another sweet chin music a couple minutes later, but Taker kicks out as well. As you get "This is awesome, this is awesome" chants ringing around NRG Stadium, or at the time it was called Reliant Stadium. But you get the point. These were like justified. These were real "This is awesome" chants, which weren't like prevalent, very loud at the time, and at a point where people weren't just chanting "This is awesome" for fuck all reason. These were actual like justified "Just as awesome" chants, because this match was great. This was real storytelling. So they laid some haymakers on each other, and then Shawn Michaels is gonna hit a moonsault. When he tries to hit the moonsault, Undertaker catches him, and then he reverses it into one last Tombstone Piledriver. 1, 2, 3, and then we get 17-0 at WrestleMania. He adds the one man he couldn't beat before, and then he gets it. So, man, this is a prime example of what a wrestling match should be. Two of the very best wrestlers, yes, but they have a foundational and explicit storyline that has layers, like onions, layers going into the match, and then delivering in said match is what makes this specific match not just one of the greatest in WrestleMania history, if not the, well, actually, I take that, it's still in a place where it's debated among like the likes of Stone Cold versus Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13, Michaels versus Bret at WrestleMania 12, probably what's another good one? John Cena versus The Rock at WrestleMania 28. But let's besides the point. This match in particular was not only one of the greatest in WrestleMania history, but all of professional wrestling history. It was a very important match in the history of pro wrestling. Unfortunately, it's also had another bad side effect, though, because, to this day, it's used as a blueprint for many wrestlers to just try and duplicate this kind of match, but without the one core ingredient, which is storytelling, like actual storytelling, an actual build going into the match, and then actually telling a story within the ring. Because, these fucks care, all they care about is wanting to have 5-star matches to cater to an old man that lives off of that. So, yeah. For as great as the match this is, sadly, it just carries a blueprint that these fucks just want to keep living off of. But, I mean, nonetheless, really great match. This is a really great match that I always like to go back to, whenever it randomly comes across my feed. But if I have the urge to. But as we know, they ran it back the following WrestleMania, and it's debatable if it was better than this one. I mean, nothing's. I don't know. For me, it doesn't top this one, and it's always going to be hard to top this one, but they still delivered. They absolutely still delivered in that streak versus career match. That streak of The Undertaker on the line again, but this time Shawn Michaels had to put something on the line as well, which was his career. But man, this was a thriller in its own right. Only to realize, man, we still had 2 more matches left. We still had more matches on the left. Like a 30-minute thriller, and then we still have 2 more matches on the card. So let's talk about the next matchup we have. And that's the first of 2 world title matches. The World Heavyweight Championship match between Edge John Cena, and well, it's the Big Show. We have 2 matches left, and you have to follow this. Like, what the? Oh man, they have a tall task, man. They had a really tall task to follow up that match. Like, holy hell. Like, what the fuck? So anyway, back at No Way Out, the pay-per-view prior to this WrestleMania, John Cena defended the World Heavyweight Championship inside the Elimination Chamber in the main event. But Edge, who lost the WWE Championship in the same match in the opening of the show, he attacked Kofi Kingston and took his spot forcefully before the main event started. So he entered one of the pods, one get out, and, well, they had no choice but to let the match roll. Cena got eliminated midway through. That guaranteed a new World Heavyweight Champion, and Edge went on to win the title. So, Edge was your new World Heavyweight Champion, and then 2 weeks later on Raw, SmackDown General Manager and acting Raw General Manager, Vicky Guerrero, she made a title match official between Edge and the Big Show for WrestleMania. And imagine if Cena didn't get added, like, holy fuck. This match would have been so bad. But anyway, Cena did get added after baiting Vicky Guerrero into some very shocking video evidence. So Guerrero got baited into making it a triple threat because, well, Cena attained some revealing footage of Guerrero and the Big Show having a little affair and behind Edge's back. So this became a triple threat. And then at one point during the feud, Cena, well, he got his comeuppance of sort. Edge and Big Show took their frustrations out on him, tied him up on the ropes, and then they beat him up. They beat him up badly. That was until Edge speared Big Show, sent him a message as well. It's like, you ain't going to be World Heavyweight Champion, boy. I'm going to leave WrestleMania walking out as champ still. So that's where we are with this match. And unfortunately, like I said, this had the very difficult task of following up a Match of the Year contender and eventual winner in 2009. And this really took a long time for the crowd to get into it. This was actually a very solid match, but like I said, the problem was you got to get that crowd back up after a really great match with Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. So this was what we were saddled with. I mean, still, Edge and John Cena, and of course the Big Show. They were stars back in their heyday in 2009. But it's like they had a tough task here. They had a really tough task here. One of the more noteworthy special entrances from John Cena during his time was right here. His army of lookalikes that filled the entranceway. You get Pyro, doing the "you can't see me" taunt as he ran down the entranceway with his lookalikes in the aisleway. Throughout this match, you have Chavo Guerrero trying to run interference on John Cena, but then he gets his butt taken out with an AA, the attitude adjustment on the floor. Vicky Guerrero, who was sitting in a wheelchair, she also gets accidentally taken out by Edge with a spear that was meant for Cena. And then you have minutes later, like midway through the match, Edge spears Big Show through the barricade. But unfortunately, he tried to drag his big ass into the ring, but he couldn't. So he had to bring Cena back in, who was knocked out by the Big Show. But he can score a 3 count. So you have Cena and Edge team up on the Big Show, who recovered from that spear. They go after the Big Show, team up on him before going after each other again. And then Cena, he gets pushed into a mid-air spear by the Big Show for a near fall. And then you get to the photo finish of this match. It came when Edge had a Big Show in a sleeper hold, and then John Cena recovers to lift them up both for a double AA. This would have been like great. This would have been like a really great Mania moment. Like Cena, I mean, lifting him up for a double AA is, it's a nice photo. It's a nice photo. It's like a nice Mania moment that it did get photographed. But man, if he actually pulled off that double AA, if Edge didn't slip out, like imagine that. Imagine if he actually hit the double AA on them. That would have been like really impressive. But I mean, still, like actually lifting him up, it's impressive nonetheless. But actually hitting the double AA on them, that would have been something else. So Edge slipped out of it, like I said. Big Show, got hit with the AA, and then Edge would also fall victim to it, and then he landed on the Big Show. Cena pins the Big Show to win back the World Heavyweight Championship that he lost at No Way Out. So like I said, it took a while for the crowd to get back into it, but yeah, pretty solid three-way match for the title. They got invested midway through, the crowd that being. And it was pretty predictable that John Cena was going to win this championship back because that's how he was back in the day. WWE, Vince were pushing behind the Cena agenda during this time. And, well, let's just say that they were also playing hot potato with their world titles back in the day to stat pad their top stars. Cena lost the title back to Edge a couple weeks later at Backlash thanks to the Big Show. And regardless, though, this match, very solid title affair. John Cena won another one of his many world championships. And we still have one more match left to go. And that was, actually, before that, we got a showcase for the 2009 Hall of Fame class. And that was headlined by none other than Stone Cold Steve Austin. And, of course, it wouldn't be a Stone Cold Steve Austin Hall of Fame class without, having some shenanigans from Stone Cold Steve Austin himself. One last signature ride on his ATV, a beer shower in front of his front of the Texas crowd, and we all thought it was gonna be for the last time, or was it? We'll see. No, it's just kidding. No, it certainly wasn't for the last time. But yeah, everyone thought that for at that point it was for the last time. Like we're gonna see them do that. But anyway. After that, we got an announcement for WrestleMania 26 that was going to be held in what was called at the time University of Phoenix Stadium, home of the Arizona Cardinals in Phoenix, Arizona. Of course, it's now known as State Farm Stadium. And they also got an announcement of the WrestleMania attendance of around 72,000 fans in attendance. So, yeah, crazy. Good for them. So now we get to the main event. And this main event involved the WWE Champion Triple H taking on Randy Orton. This match, this feud, had a lot going for it in the lead up to it. And I gotta say, it was like one, I guess looking back on it as when I watched it as a kid, even though I didn't watch too much of it, like this build up as a kid, there were a lot of good spots of it. And even watching it back then. This was even watching it now, actually, in preparation for it. This was as good as I remember it. Now, keep in mind, these two had feuded before twice for world titles in 2004 for the World Heavyweight Championship after Orton was kicked out of from Evolution right after SummerSlam, and then in 2008 after Backlash when Triple H won the WWE Championship from Randy Orton. But this chapter in the rivalry was the most intense. This was the most personal of the two chapters, because Randy Orton, he was on a warpath since his return from a collarbone injury at Unforgiven. He was the cold-blooded Viper, not being able to control his emotions. And yeah, there were senses of the Viper when he first started it in 2007. But this Randy Orton was a more sinister. He was a more unforgiving, like I said, cold-blooded Randy Orton, not being able to control his emotions, and that led to him often getting into some pretty messy situations, which led to him punting his enemies in the skull, like Batista, and especially Vince McMahon, the chairman of the WWE. So that happens 2 weeks before the Royal Rumble, and then Orton goes on to win the Royal Rumble by last eliminating Triple H, who actually goes on to win the Elimination Chamber in the next pay-per-view, No Way Out, for the WWE Championship. So, after No Way Out, Orton would kick off Shane McMahon's head and even RKO Stephanie McMahon the next night on Raw. So, that leads to Triple H running out in a fit of rage, and he knows that what he has to do next. Go after Randy Orton. So Triple H would convince Randy Orton to use his WWE title, his Royal Rumble opportunity on him, which he did. And the next couple weeks, you saw probably some pretty intense stuff, even in the PG area. Triple H invading Randy Orton's house, throwing him all over, throwing him through the front window of his home, which was not actually his home, but still, you get the point. And then Orton would retaliate by setting up an attack on Triple H, handcuffing him to the ring ropes, and then forcing him to attack Stephanie McMahon, and even leave her a kiss on the lips. Yeah, this is kind of deep stuff, even for the PG era, but this is actually a pretty intense build for the 25th WrestleMania. So on the Raw before WrestleMania, 6 days prior, it starts to come to a head. Triple H wants to fight Legacy, which was Randy Orton's group at the time. You have a stone wall of security, but then he brings some backup, which was Vince and Shane, who are fully healthy now, and they want to whoop their ass. So they get into this big fight, and then even the promo package, you have War Machine playing in the promo package, and you feel like this is going to be a big fight feel. This is going to be a very intense main event for the WWE title with high stakes, high drama, all of that. But then you get to the actual match itself, and once you hear Lillian Garcia, the ring announcer, as Randy Orton's coming out, you hear that Vicky Guerrero tacked on a stipulation of Triple H could possibly lose his title if he is counted out or disqualified. And that's where we get to strike one of this match. And what the fuck? Where did that come from? Why? When was this announced? And then we get to strike two of this match. Triple H, it seemed promising at first because Triple H, his heated emotions seemed to get to him. And then he eats an RKO early. Randy Orton also eats an pedigree early. So they eat each other's finishers early on. But then you get to strike three. Actually, we're still on strike two. Sorry. From there, it's just you never get out of first gear. You never get out of this realm of intensity, of personal issues of you invaded the sanctity, the sanctuary. That doesn't even work. The safe space of my family. There we go. That's the phrasing I wanted to use. Which was Randy Orton doing that to Triple H. Because this felt like a standard wrestling match. A storyline with this personal drama. It just led to this. It's that's it. It was full of standard wrestling moves, rest holds, and then Randy Orton just Triple H trying to control his temper. That's it. And then you get to the critical point in the match where Orton unintentionally throwing Triple H into the referee, and then after an RKO, he tries to go use the game's sledgehammer, but then Triple H kicks Randy Orton in the head, like Orton would usually do to his opponent, but then he also hits him with the sledgehammer, and then he goes hide it. So, yeah, it's not good. It's not good at all. So you get a flurry of punches to Orton by Triple H, and then he just finishes off anticlimactically, which is strike three, with the pedigree to retain the WWE title. I can see why people were very disappointed with this match then, and if they happen to watch it now. You had probably one of the best WrestleMania buildups they had even during the PG era. Orton's continued evolution as the Viper and his relentless assault on the McMahons, to Triple H too, to Triple H's rage and retaliation and his will to kill Randy Orton and I guess Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase to a degree. But then this is how you pay it off in the main event of WrestleMania, a standard wrestling match with a stipulation that nobody knew about until Lillian Garcia just said out of the blue, hey, Vicky Guerrero tacked on a stipulation saying, if Triple H gets counted out or disqualified, he loses the WWE Championship. Again, where did the pre-match stipulation come from? Why did they need to throw that in there? Matter of fact, why not beforehand? Why didn't they make this a no-holds-barred stipulation? I get it. We already had an Extreme Rules match between Matt and Jeff Hardy, but with this kind of storyline, you need a no disqualification stipulation. It's like, why was this restricted to a regular one-on-one singles match? And oh, by the way, where was Cody Rhodes? Where was Ted DiBiase? And where were the McMahons to run interference for both sides? Where was the overbooked mess, per se, in this match? Like, where was any of that? So I guess when you look back at it, like, I guess I don't really care that Orton ended up winning it and taking out Triple H anyways at Backlash in that 6-man tag with Legacy and Triple H. I mean, at least, Randy Orton was able to recover, but still, it would have been more impactful. It would have been more impactful if this was a no holds barred stipulation and if Randy Orton had actually won it. Because when you look at the grand scheme of things, Triple H won his rivalries in the past in 2004 and 2008 with Randy Orton. In fairness, though, the rivalry in 2008 ended so abruptly with Orton getting injured. But besides the point, if Orton had won, it would have legitimized even further his character at the time. This should have been Orton's crowning moment as a top heel in WWE with a massive payoff to a very personal storyline. But instead, you just get a match. It's just a match. A match that was the talk of the town. All talk, but no bark. That was it. Not to say it was bad, but it was just like very disappointing. Like, and I can see why people were so disappointed with this match back in 2009, and 15 years later, they're still disappointed with this match, including myself. Like, I don't think I've ever watched this match before until now. And yeah, I could say I'm one of those people that was very disappointed with this match. Like, pretty disappointed. So when you look at this overall WrestleMania, the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania, it was a mixed bag. It was a mixed bag of a show. But when you look past the duds of the Battle Royale, the missed WrestleMania Battle Royale, the Intercontinental Championship match, which was, I guess you can't even consider that a match. And then you look past the main event, the rest of it was actually pretty good. But like I said, the real main event was Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, which is a match and a feud. Everyone, whether you're a wrestling fan or not, you need to see that match for yourself. If you go on the street or you go to your friends that's not a wrestling fan and say, and you recommend something to have them see for the very first time, I would recommend this match. Well, at least one of my recommendations would be this match right here. Taker versus Michaels at WrestleMania 25. If you want to show them the sequel, I think that's a good option too. But this match right here is a stupendous option. Yes, I'm using the Pat McAfee term. The stupendous option. No, I'm just kidding. It's a great option. It's a great option. So, would I recommend you go back and rewatch this as a filthy casual wrestling fan out there? Yes. Yes, I would. Like I said, you look past the duds on the show and you actually get a good WrestleMania card. Especially if you don't want to see the atrocity that is this WrestleMania 40 weekend. So with that being said, let me know your thoughts on WrestleMania 25, aka the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania, in the comments on YouTube, or leave me a message on social media. Send me one my way on X and Instagram at Cold Lasagna. Your memories of the show, or if you watched it for the very first time, send me your feelings about it as well. Or if it's a particular match, whether it's HBK versus Taker, the World Heavyweight title triple threat, even the disappointing main event, whichever match you want to talk about, let's start a conversation about it as we reflect back on the 25th anniversary that happened 15 years ago of WrestleMania. As we, well, for now, close the old icebox and stay here in the coldest depths of the freezer. But anyway, that is it for this episode of Very Cold Lasagna, episode number 195 of this icy yet spicy sports podcast. I'm your host, DylanLasagna, and in the next episode, we're going to stay here in the coldest depths of the freezer as we talk about another WrestleMania that's, man, it was torturous. It was a torturous WrestleMania to get through, but we'll save that for the next episode. Until then, keep the lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. And As always, peace out.